Chapter 2. How hath the Lord covered with a cloud the daughter of Zion in his anger? He hath cast down from heaven unto the earth the beauty of Israel, and hath not remembered his footstool in the day of his anger. The Lord hath swallowed up unsparingly all the inhabitants of Jacob. He hath thrown down in his wrath the strongholds of the daughter of Judah. He hath brought them down to the ground. He hath profaned the kingdom and the princes thereof. He hath cut off in fierce anger all the horn of Israel. He hath drawn back his right hand from before the enemy, and hath burned in Jacob like a flaming fire, which devours round about. He hath bent his bow like an enemy, standing with his right hand as an adversary, and hath slain all that were pleasant to the eye. In the tent of the daughter of Zion he hath poured out his fury like fire. The Lord is become an enemy. He hath swallowed up Israel. He hath swallowed up all her palaces. He hath destroyed his strongholds, and he hath multiplied in the daughter of Judah mourning and moaning. And he hath stripped his tabernacle as if it were a garden. He hath destroyed his place of assembly. The Lord hath caused to be forgotten in Zion appointed season and Sabbath, and hath rejected in the indignation of his anger the king and the priest. The Lord has cast off his altar. He has abhorred his sanctuary. He hath given up into the hand of the enemy the walls of her palaces. They have made a noise in the house of the Lord, as in the day of the solemn assembly. The Lord has purposed to destroy the wall of the daughter of Zion. He hath stretched out the line. He hath not withdrawn his hand from destroying, but he hath made the rampart and the wall to mourn. They languish together. Her gates are sunk into the ground. He hath destroyed and broken her bars. Her king and her princes are among the nations. Instruction is no more. Yes, her prophets find no vision from the Lord. They sit upon the ground and keep silence. The elders of the daughter of Zion, they have cast up dust upon their heads. They have girded themselves with sackcloth. The virgins of Jerusalem hang down their heads to the ground. Mine eyes do fail with tears. Mine inwards burn. My liver is poured upon the earth. For the breach of the daughter of my people, because the young children and the sucklings swoon in the broad places of the city. They say to their mothers, Where is corn and wine? When they swoon as wounded in the broad places of the city, when their soul is poured out into their mother's bosom. What shall I take to witness for you? What shall I liken to you, O daughter of Jerusalem? What shall I equal to you, that I may comfort you, O virgin daughter of Zion? For your breach is great like the sea. Who can heal you? Your prophets have seen visions for you of vanity and delusion. They have not uncovered your iniquity to bring back your captivity, but have prophesied for you burdens of vanity and seduction. All that pass by clap their hands at you. They hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem. Is this the city that men called the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth? All your enemies have opened their mouth wide against you. They hiss and gnash the teeth. They say, We have swallowed her up. Certainly this is the day we looked for. We have found, we have seen it. The Lord hath done that which he devised. He hath performed his word that he commanded in the days of old. He hath thrown down unsparingly, and hath caused the enemy to rejoice over you. He has exalted the horn of your adversaries. Their heart cried unto the Lord, O wall of the daughter of Zion, let tears run down like a river day and night. Give yourself no respite. Let not the apple of thine eye cease. Arise, cry out in the night, at the beginning of the watches. Pour out your heart like water before the face of the Lord. Lift up your hands toward him for the life of your young children, that faint for hunger at the head of every street. See, O Lord, and consider to whom you have done this. Shall the women eat their fruit, the children that are dandled in the hands? Shall the priest and the prophet be slain in the sanctuary of the Lord? The youth and the old man lie on the ground in the streets. My virgins and my young men are fallen by the sword. You have slain them in the day of your anger. You have slaughtered unsparingly. You have called as in the day of the solemn assembly, my terrors on every side. And there was none in the day of the Lord's anger that escaped or remained. Those that I have dandled and brought up hath my enemy consumed. All right, let's go back up to verse 1. And we're going to be continuing in these Lamentations, these individual prayers that seem to be connected. And they are connected because there's understanding, and from the beginning we know that we are, well, one thing we're trying to do is to teach you once again how to think on a little higher understanding, to think a little bit for yourself and consider some things. Because see, if you can just think for yourself a little bit, God says you're going to wake up and you're going to consider these things. And because, see, God has caused a great slumber in all the earth, and everybody's kind of been lulled to sleep, so to speak, through time. And God's trying to wake everybody up, to bring them to the understanding that you're not observing the law of God, you're not doing these things, and society is starting to falter. We're going to pick it up in verse 1. How has the Lord covered with a cloud the daughter of Zion in his anger? He hath cast down from heaven unto the earth the beauty of Israel, and hath not remembered his footstool in the day of his anger. His footstool, that place of his rest, we find this was Zion. Zion is that parched place. It's that post that's been put there. It's a marker is what it is, so that we can see as we go through time that we've been here. This punishment that God's dealing out, we've been here before, and we need to wake up, because see, we're going to find out this is all like a dream. It's all kind of like a dream, so to speak, in that that the reality really has been distorted by what we could have. And the Lord has covered with a cloud. This covered with the cloud, he's hidden it now in a confusion, this daughter of Zion. And this daughter of Zion is this virgin daughter of Zion even. This daughter that's not known understanding. This one that comes out of this judgment of God. This one who has representing the original Levitic priesthood as is what it represents. He hath cast down from heaven unto the earth the beauty of Israel, and hath not remembered. And this beauty of Israel was Zion. See, this was Zion, and we're going to find it was built to the Epiphany, and was brought to the top of the mountain, because God's always making an example. See, he says, I'm going to punish this. I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to punish. And God did. God did punish, and God continues to punish. He cast down from heaven unto the earth. See, he cast down, and he brought down that higher understanding of the law, that which God give you in the beginning to build these walls of the city. And he cast it down from heaven to an earthlier understanding, this place of flesh even. And what this means, that God took away our ability to achieve a higher understanding. God, and he can do this, and he took away the higher understanding so that he can show you. He does this. See, God does this. God punishes. And by this we'll find that they have went to sleep. Because they have no understanding, they have went to sleep, so to speak, or been brought into darkness. 2. The Lord hath swallowed up unsparingly all the habitations of Jacob. He hath thrown down in his wrath the strongholds of the daughter of Judah. He hath brought them down to the ground. He hath profaned the kingdom and the princes thereof. And God was making a great example. See, God was making a great example then of what he's going to do. God's always making an example See, you get the explanation, you'll get the demonstration, and then you'll get your practical application. See, God's showing you. God has the ability to bring down your understanding to an earthly understanding, an understanding where you dwell here with flesh and men, thinking that the law is only good to save my soul, my flesh. It has no understanding. I don't have to go by the law. We'll find out, see, all understanding is rolled up in the law of God. And by this, God has swallowed unsparingly all the habitations of Jacob, what he did then. See, that's what he's doing today. And in his wrath, all the strongholds of these daughters of Judah, these places of praisings, God was using even then. And that daughter of Judah was Jerusalem, that place of peaceful teachings. 3. He hath cut off in fierce anger all the horn of Israel. He hath drawn back his right hand from before the enemy. He hath burned in Jacob like a flaming fire, which devoureth round about. In fierce anger, see, God has done these things. He cut off the horn of Israel, the strength of Israel. He cut off their strength. Their strength was the law of God. That was the strength, see. And the understanding that God gave this, even a God that nobody has ever seen, nobody understands. See, God's going to make a greater example even later, even now. He hath drawn back his right hand from before the enemy, and hath burned in Jacob like a flaming fire. And his right hand was his great strength. He didn't stop the enemy from coming in. He allowed the enemy to come in. See, he drew his hand back. He allowed your enemy to come in, and he burned like a flaming fire. And this fire is that devours. This fire that devours, this fire of lack of understanding, see. Why, he put a cloud around Zion. He put a great cloud around the understanding of the law of God. And these, the ones that was supposed to be keeping over it from the beginning, teaching it for your own good. For he has bent his bow like an enemy, standing with his right hand as an adversary. He has slain all that were pleasant to the eye. And in the tent of the daughter of Zion he has poured out his fury like fire. He has bent his bow, his great strengths, these laws, these ordinances, these understandings he gave from the beginning for your own good. These are the strengths of God. This is the bow. This is what he destroys with. This is what he blesses with. Like an enemy, he's pulled back the judgments of his law like an enemy. And he's standing with right hand as an adversary, just like your enemy. His right hand, it's his great strength, his great work even that he's put in the earth. He has slain all that was pleasant to the eye. All that pleased the Lord has he slain. Yeah, I know everybody thinks God is unmerciful and he slays, but we'll find, see, that you are slain, but God resurrects. See, God has the ability to bring you back from the dead or from this place of sleep, the earthly understandings that men have to offer, see, instead of the higher understandings of the law, the higher understandings that God has to offer to those who make themselves observant to his understandings. See, this is the understandings God wants you to have. And this is how he has poured out his fury like fire in this tent of Zion, this tent, this place where this comes from, this place where the law was supposed to come from in the beginning, and all the understandings going out. See, there's fire coming out there now, judgment. 5, the Lord has become as an enemy. He has swallowed up Israel. He has swallowed up all her palaces. He has destroyed her strongholds. He hath multiplied in the daughter of Judah mourning and moaning. And the Lord is become like an enemy. He swallowed up Israel. He swallowed up the whole house, see. In punishment, God's making a great example. See, God can do these things. He said this is what will become of you. And there you are. And he's going to make another great example. See, God is not done. God's constantly working because they caused him to work. And until men just shut their mouths and listen to what God had to say, it's going to be like this. He has destroyed his strongholds. And we're going to find in the end time, these are the strongholds of all the earth. 6. And he hath stripped his tabernacle as if it were a garden. He hath destroyed his place of assembly. The Lord hath caused to be forgotten in Zion appointed season and Sabbath, and rejected in the indignation of his anger the king and the priest. And he has stripped his tabernacle as if it was a garden. Well, we can compare his tabernacle like it is a garden. God gave you that for your own good, to house up all the falsehood and to bring forth out of their understanding. He's destroyed that place of assembly. He's destroyed that place they gathered together. He's destroyed that place of understanding. The Lord hath caused to be forgotten in Zion the appointed season and Sabbath. And these appointed seasons and the Sabbaths, these days of rest even, these appointed season, even these festivals that was kept in understanding to bring forth these seasons in their rightful place, the harvest in its due season, the wine in its due season. See, that all these things could be understood so that when it come around we would know that God is working in the earth. And because they have rejected the understandings of God, because they've rejected the laws of God, we'll find out understanding's taken away. And God has rejected king and priest. And these kings, these ones that don't have understanding in the earth, this was the earthly connection to get over the wall. We'll find that's exactly what it stood for. And the priest, the priest, the one who was given to guard within the city in the first place. The Lord has cast off his altar. 7. He hath abhorred his sanctuary. He hath given up into the land of the enemy the walls of her palaces. They have made a noise in the house of the Lord, as in the day of the solemn assembly. The enemy is gathered into the house of the Lord. And there they are. They are all gathered up, thinking they can take, just like in the day of the solemn assembly, when the multitudes would come together in one place. See, in one place, not many places. God said, you shall not do this, and we're going to find out. That's where the children are starving. That's where the children are dying. See, and we're going to hear there's suffering in the street. There's crying in the street. That's what God had going on then. He was making a greater example of an even higher understanding. See, this city, this place of peaceful teachings, this understanding God gave from the beginning is under siege in the enemy, and the children within are starving to death. 8. The Lord has purposed to destroy the wall of the daughter of Zion. He hath stretched out the line. He hath not withdrawn his hand from destroying, but he hath made the rampart and wall to mourn. They languish together. And we can just replace that rampart and wall with the king and the priest. That's what the king was from the beginning, a rampart to get over the wall of God, the understandings of God. Because why? They said, give us a king. They didn't want to go by the understanding God had. They called it a burden. They had made it a burden. They had made it something they had to pull by. It was given to you for your own good. They used it to rule. This was the problem. They was using it for personal gain. It's the same story. It goes on over and over and over. God making an example. God wants you to be able to understand higher understandings. 9. Her gates are sunk into the ground. He hath destroyed and broken her bars. Her king and her princes are among the nations. Instruction is no more. Yes, her prophets find no vision from the Lord. Her gates are sunk. These gates that she thought would protect the city even. All her gates. And we're going to find out. These are the gates that two work together to create. Hath destroyed and broken her bars. These bars, because they had used these as a way to rule, as a way to trap, as a way to enclose. King and the princes are among the nations. They're scattered out with them. See, that's what God said he was going to do. Instruction is no more. There's no more understanding. Yes, her prophets find no visions from the Lord. God said, you find no vision from the Lord. And they run around. They're going to keep teaching these peaceful teachings, all these great understandings. Oh, it's peace, peace, peace. And all the while, the city's being besieged. Children are starving to death. There's no understanding. 10. They sit upon the ground and keep silence, the elders of the daughter of Zion. They have cast dust upon their heads. They have girded themselves with sackcloth. The virgins of Jerusalem hang down their heads to the ground. They sit upon the ground. They're down there on the earth, sitting there with no understanding, just like God said he was going to make them do, and keep silence. These elders of the daughter of Zion. These were the elders. These were the ones that were supposed to have all the great understanding of Zion, that place that God fortified with the law from the beginning. This was the Levitical priesthood. They have cast up dust upon their heads. Dust. They've cast this dust up. This is the earth. Their understanding's in the earth, and that's all they've got. That's their head. To replace their glory, to cover their head with earthly understandings for gain, instead of higher understandings, the glory that God gave you in the beginning, to clean your hair, to make yourself clean, see, to have that your glory. They have girded themselves with sackcloth. They've wrapped mourning around themselves. They've girded them up with sackcloth, using this to gird their loins. The virgins of Jerusalem hang down their heads to the ground. Once again, these virgins of Jerusalem, this place of peaceful teachings, these virgins, these ones that haven't known men, these understandings that are going forth, being polluted even, hang down their heads to the ground. They have an earthly understanding too. There's no understanding left. God said, I took it away. 11. Mine eyes do fail with tears, mine inwards burn. My liver is poured upon the earth for the breach of the daughter of my people, because the young children and the sucklings swoon in the broad places of the city. My eyes do fail with tears. Mine inwards burn. I'm on fire within. My eyes are running down. I'm crying. My liver's poured out. All my sustenance which I have within me is poured out into the earth, into the ground, into this earthly understanding. My liver is poured out upon the earth. The breach of the daughter of my people, because the young children, the sucklings, swoon in the broad places of the city. They're swooning, they're passing out, they're turning by the way. Turning by the way, that's what's happening. They're turning by the way, and as they turn, they're saying, where is this harvest? Where is this sweet wine? And they're falling away, see, to death. They're falling away to even this earthly understanding. They're falling away to desires and of flesh, and the whole earth is turning to degradation. God is destroying. 12. They say to their mothers, where is the corn and wine? When they swoon as the wounded in broad places of the city. When their soul is poured out in their mother's bosom, just like a baby. Even these suckling ones that they're just covering in the streets, hiding, because they have died, they have starved. There was no sustenance to eat within the city. Where is the corn and the wine? Where is the harvest and that sweet wine, that new wine? When they swoon as wounded, just like an enemy has shot the mighty man even in the city. The children are crying for substance from the Word of God, for understanding from the Word of God. 13. What shall I take to witness for you? What shall I liken to you, O daughter of Jerusalem? What shall I equal to you, that I may comfort you, O virgin daughter of Zion? For your breach is great like the sea. Who can heal you? What can God use for a similitude? What can God use to teach this? This daughter of Jerusalem, this daughter of peaceful teachings. How can God wake you up to see, to make you known what you're doing? creating yourself a fat seat, a high seat, to wake you up, to make you see idolatry has become your great sin. The same thing God was trying to show them then, the same thing God's trying to teach today. How can God comfort you, O virgin daughter of Zion? This virgin daughter, these ones had, in the beginning, see, they turned from the law of God. They didn't follow God's ordinances, and they started using it. Zion, that's that Levitical priesthood that made the first mistake God's been trying to teach them the whole time. When you going to wake up? For the breach is great like the sea. And who can heal you? Only God can heal you. It's breached like the sea. It's just like somebody busted a hole big as the sea in you. See, and all the waters are pouring in. All these multitudes of nations are pouring in. No understanding within the city to stop it. Your prophets, 14, your prophets have seen visions for you of vanity and delusion. They have not uncovered your iniquity to bring back your captivity, but have prophesied for you burdens of vanity and seduction. Your prophets, these are the ones you're set up for yourself as teachers. These are the ones you've got. These see all the visions of God for us. See, God didn't need you to see anybody to see for you. He gave you 2 eyes for yourself. See? And God's going to show you some things. Let them, they've seen visions of vanity, wastes of time and delusions, the imaginations of their own mind. Whatever they could imagine up, any little gimmick they could think of to make a buck, that's what they was doing then. That's the same thing they're doing today. They have not uncovered your iniquity, your perversions. They have not made known your sin, so that you could turn to bring back your captivity, to come back out of that land of darkness. They want you to stay there. They prosper greatly from these things. But they have prophesied for you burdens of vanity and seduction. Once again, these words of burden, these burdens of waste of time. They say, oh, do this, and this will make you holy. That don't make you holy. Observance to the law of God, observance to the ordinances of God. That's what's going to set you aside. That's what's going to keep you from the wrath of God. They just want to seduce you into their understandings because they don't have none. God took it from them. 15. All that pass by clap their hands at you. They hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem. Is this the city that men called the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth? All that pass by clap their hands. It's done. They hiss and wag their hands at the daughter of this place of peaceful teachings. God's using for an example. See, God's using it for example. Place of peaceful teachings, where men are always saying, oh, it's peace, peace, peace. No harm's going to come to you. Well, we'll find out. See, in time, the prophet that teaches peace, see, he's made known in time. There ain't no peace. Is this the city that men call perfection, the beauty, the joy of the whole earth? Is this the city? Is this the place that God made a great example of that men thought was perfection, the beauty, the joy of the whole earth? See, God brought them down, but they mocked and they had. See, and now God's going to make a better example. God's going to make a greater example. Using this just as a little witness, because, see, you've been getting your practical application. 16. All your enemies have opened their mouth wide against you. They hiss and gnash the teeth. They say, we have swallowed her up. Certainly this is the day that we looked for. We have found, we have seen it. And that's what they thought. They said, well, we've come in, we've seen all the great things, and we're going to take them and go do with them as we wish. We've swallowed her up. That place of peaceful teachings, that place where God made for an example from the beginning. Certainly this is the day we looked for, that this great city would come down. See, we knew it would come. We knew that they would mess up. We knew that they would turn from God. We knew God was going to punish them. 17. The Lord has done that which he devised. He hath performed his word that he commanded in the days of old. He has thrown down unsparingly, and he hath caused the enemy to rejoice over you. He hath exalted the horn of your adversaries. See, God done this. God was doing all this. This was God, just like he said he was going to do. He was doing, for an example, see, God was trying to make an example to all the rest of the world, but nobody wanted to listen. There wasn't no gain in listening. 18. Their heart cried unto the Lord, O wall of the daughter of Zion, let tears run down like a river day and night. Give yourself no respite. Let not the apple of thine eye cease. Their heart cried unto the Lord. Their inward cried out, said, O wall of the daughter of Zion, O wall. That wall is the wall God gave to protect you in the beginning, for the law of God. See, the law, the wall, the law. You heard it backwards. You thought it was a wall. It's the law. It's the daughter of Zion, that those that were born from the true understanding of this understanding that God gives. That's the daughter of Zion. See, those that were born from the true understanding that God gave of the law in the beginning, that it was for your own good. Let your tears run down like a river day and night. Don't stop in the day and the night, this time of light and that time of darkness. Give yourself no respite. This respite is relief. It means relief, or actually what it means is nothing to numb yourself with. Don't give yourself no medicines to cure your pain, and let not the apple of thine eye cease. That apple of the eye was the law even in the beginning. Stay with it. Stay with it. Make this all your understanding, because, see, God's going to bring this back. That's the true understanding from the beginning. 19. Arise, cry out in the night, at the beginning of the watches, pour out your heart like water before the face of the Lord. Lift up your hands toward him for the life of your young children that faint for hunger at the head of every street. Why, that's what was going on. They'd set him up a high place at the head of every street. See, at the head of every street where they went to worship all these understandings of men, all these not of gods that men had made, all these images within their own minds. Cry out in the night at the beginning of the watches when they're changing them. We find out they just not changing the watches. Pour out your heart like water before the face of the Lord. Pour out all your understanding. Pour out everything that is within. We're going to find, see, that's the understanding from the law of God. These were the understandings that he gave in the beginning. Lift up your hands toward him for the life of your young children. They're starving to death. Somebody feed them. Somebody give them something to drink. They faint for hunger at the head of every street where these men are teaching them these falsehoods. Then we'll find out, see, what they're just taking them down, delivering them up. 20. See, O Lord, and consider to whom you have done thus. Shall the women eat the fruit, the children of their that are dandled in the hands? Shall the priest and the prophet be slain in the sanctuary of the Lord? Shall the priest and the prophet be slain in the sanctuary of the Lord? Those that have polluted it. God done this. God done this. See, God is doing this. This is where the women that eat the fruit, they're taking them down, delivering them up. They have no understanding. Woman, this is not the women. This is that from man. See, let's just take that and put it back. From man, woman, shall that from man eat their fruit? The children that are dandled in the hands? Because this understandings from men is what's causing this. And they're delivering them up. The priest and the prophet are slain in the sanctuary of the Lord, because they have polluted the sanctuary of the Lord. They are no priest. They are no prophet. God never appointed them. 21. The youth and the old man lie on the ground in the streets. My virgins and my young men are fallen by the sword. You have slain them in the day of your anger. You have slaughtered unsparingly. And that's what God's doing, see. God's not doing it. You're doing it yourself by not observing the understanding of God. And when you don't teach the next generation any understanding from God, well, you're just taking them down and delivering them up. They have no understanding. Going forth into this earth to be slaughtered, to be slain. You might as well devour them. That's what you're doing. Consuming your children in your ignorance. And the youth and the old man lie down on the ground in the streets. And the youth, these are those ones you hoped for. This is that next generation you was bringing up with strength. And this old man, the one that had it, he was supposed to have understanding. They lie on the ground. They lie in the earth. Their understandings of dirt in the streets. Those places that are trampled by men. My virgins and my young men are fallen by the sword. My virgins, these ones that had not known men, the young men, these ones that was coming forth to bring understanding. This was another generation coming forth. They're fallen by the sword, by the judgment of God. No one's teaching understanding. That was a problem from the first generation that was caused to go back into the wilderness. See, they didn't even teach their children the law, but God brought them through the way. See, and when they got into the land, Joshua circumcised them. 22. You have called, as in the day of the solemn assembly, my terrors on every side, and there was none in that day of the Lord's anger that escaped or remained. Those that I have dandled and brought up hath my enemy consumed. You have called, just like in the day of the solemn assembly, when the multitudes had gathered together, see, and my terrors are on every side. All the enemy, all this horrible understandings, all these understandings of men, see, they've come in. All this pollution, all this idolatry had come into the city and was polluting it. It was polluting it, and these were the terrors on every side. There was nobody escaping it. There was nobody escaping these ignorances of men. And God was destroying. Same thing that was going on then. Same thing that's going on today. Turn and return. Let's go to chapter 3.